Hey guys, so today this is a very requested video. It's all about marriage. So I didn't really think that I would even be qualified to do a video like this because literally I'm in like my 5th month of marriage. So by no means am I some marriage expert or marriage connoisseur or old married couple who knows like a ton about marriage. So goals, but I'm not there yet. But yeah, so today I had just a lot of requests, so I put out a little questions thing, and you guys asked me a ton of questions on Instagram about marriage, and so I definitely tried my best to pick the ones I felt like were good ones to answer for this video. So I decided I was just going to take your question and answer it kind of as like straightforward as I could off of that question. I'm going to do my best to answer it as short and concise and just give you like what you asked directly, instead of like speaking for a really long time. Now that that's out of the way, let's hop right into the video and get into your questions. So the first one was, she just said, enjoying and embracing the waiting season until you started dating your husband. So my dating season, or before dating my husband, my season of like singleness was coming out of a pretty tough breakup. So I would say it was really, really hard for me at first because I was definitely the type of girl who liked to be in a relationship. I really found a lot of my value and my satisfaction from relationships, quite honestly. So I would say that my season of being single, coming out of a very serious relationship, for me was really hard. I really struggled. I had a lot of like hard nights just crying and, you know, being what it is to come out of a relationship that you invest a lot of yourself into and give a lot of yourself to. So that was really hard for me in the beginning. But honestly, my single time before dating Isaiah, my husband, was the best season of my life before getting married, obviously, because I felt like it was the first time in my life where, or not the first time, it was like, but it was before, it was a time in my life, sorry, I live in a city, so the trucks are freaking loud outside, or the cars, whatever, are so loud. Anyways, so I really like actually learned to rely on Jesus to be everything, because I really didn't believe God that he could be everything that could satisfy me and be everything that I was looking for in a relationship. Like, because I looked for something in particular in relationships that I felt like God couldn't, like that God wasn't satisfying in me. So I would like just look elsewhere. And so I really asked God like tough questions during my singleness. I said, okay, God, I always hear from pastors, I always heard in school, I always hear from people who just give me this passing answer about how to get over a breakup or how to like rely on God, that like, oh, you just, you know, he can satisfy everything in you. And I was like, honestly, I was like, BS, because I didn't feel like he was doing that for me. So I asked God, I was like, I need you to be this for me. I need you to be everything. I need you to satisfy me, because it's really freaking hard for me to not look to a man for that. It's really hard. Like, some people might not struggle with that. They might struggle in other ways, but for me, it was relationships. That's where I looked for that identity and that satisfaction. So I asked God to be that for me. I was like, I need you to be there for me. I need you to be everything I need in this time of singleness, because I'm having a really hard time trusting that you can be everything for me. So I waited on him for the first time in ever, I think. It was the first time I ever really decided that like, okay, I'm gonna actually be single. Not single, but like you make out with a guy here and there. Like, actually single. Like, I'm going to dedicate my time to really like being like, when I'm sad or I'm having a hard time, I'm actually going to pray. I am actually going to sit in solitude in my room and figure out how to like get through the crap that is like hard for me to get through being single. I'm gonna figure it out. And so I did that, like, and it was literally the best season of my life. It was super hard in the beginning, like in the first little time that I was learning how to be comfortable by myself, and learn what I liked, and not just learning what the guy I was dating liked to do and figuring out how to form myself to that. I like really learned how to like learned what I like to do. And so I learned those things. I learned I really liked to clean. Like I got really into like Miss Meyer's cleaning products, which sounds super boring, but you know, you find the thing for you that's fun. Like, so I got really into cleaning. I watched a lot. I learned I really loved YouTube at that time. So I watched a lot of YouTube. I really liked makeup. I sound like I was super boring, but like for me, it was what I needed to do to learn how to be comfortable being single, which was like, I loved to go to the movies by myself. And like, if you're from Oviedo, Sarku chicken is like the prime thing to get. Like, I love Sarku chicken. I would literally sneak Sarku chicken into my bag and like eat it. Sounds like I like had an eating problem when I was single, but I really didn't. I actually got really into the gym too, but like, you know, I just figured out what I like to do, and that was dope. Like, intimacy with Jesus looks different for everyone. You might not be a super like touchy, like, oh Jesus, I need you to like love me and show me what love feels like. But like for me, that's what I needed. I needed like intimate, like meet me in my darkest place in my room when I'm sad, and like comfort me and hold me. Whatever it is you need from God, I learned that I could ask him and like rely on him for anything, and that he would meet me in a way that I could never rely on a human being, like to do what God could do for me. And learning that before I got married and like before I started dating Isaiah was freaking dope, because I now know in my marriage that when I feel empty, Isaiah is not the one to fill me up, because I need Jesus. That is what my time before dating Isaiah looked like. The second one was, so this was like a topic kind of, reality of marriage, how to make it work, and when things are tough, and finances. So I'm gonna answer the finances one in a later question, because someone else, like a few people asked about finances. So I'm gonna go over that. The reality of marriage, I would say that marriage is not going to solve all of your problems. If you have struggles, or if you have issues and things that you are like, oh, this is not, like, I need to work on this. Do not think that finding the person that you're gonna marry and dating someone who is like the ultimate, like, you know, even if he loves Jesus, even if he is like the biggest example of Jesus you've ever known and the best guy or the best girl, do not think that getting married to someone is going to fix everything, because it's not. It will enhance that problem, not enhance, but it will magnify that problem, and you will notice it even more, and then you're still gonna have to fix it. So I would say the reality of marriage, that's like a very like small part of that. There's a lot of realities of marriage, but I could do that in a different video. I would just say that don't look at marriage as something that's going to be the answer for all of your problems, because it's not. I'm married, and I can tell you that it did not solve all my problems. I love Isaiah to death, and he is the best man I've ever known, but he is a human being the same way that I am. Work on you. Like, work on you, work on what you think, like, let God, like, seriously, I have to let God mold my heart and like help me figure out me every day, because I'm a mess. I'm married and I'm a mess. I am not perfect. Isaiah's not perfect. It is two imperfect people coming together. Of course, like, marriage is freaking beautiful. That's another reality of marriage. It's beautiful. Jesus, it's like this tangible way to have a relationship with someone that like mirrors kind of that relationship with Jesus. It is so beautiful. It is amazing. But it is not going to solve everything. Like, you're going to work through stuff that you're working through probably when you're single, when you're married too, because it doesn't just change. It doesn't just get fixed. So I will say that. Then I would say, going into how to make it work. Oh boy, how to make it work. I mean, I'm only 5 months in, so I probably have not been through like the hardest struggles ever, but my struggles have been their own, the same way that anyone's are. So I think that how we've made it work thus far is prayer and like really, it's so like you've never done anything like marriage before. So it's very much like you pray because you don't know what's happening. Like life is crazy. It's different. It's a new season. So I think what's made it work is figuring out a schedule that works for us. We've recently figured out that Isaiah really needs time with Jesus in the morning. So do I, but I'm like, I could be really flexible with my schedule. He's a lot more. So in general, he's more like kind of uptight about how his schedule needs to be. I'm like, I need a schedule, but I'm more flexible with my schedule overall. So we had to figure out a schedule that worked for us. So that helps it work. Like that helps our marriage work and function a little better, like getting a schedule together. And also making it work for us is that looks like having every month we have a meeting where we talk about our budget, we talk about our expectations, we talk about uncovered like feelings or things that we've been dealing with that maybe we haven't communicated to each other. It's kind of our like vent session, kind of like check-in, like how are you doing, like what can we do better, like type of thing. So I would say really like prayer, like spend time with Jesus when you're married, spend time with Jesus before you're married, like Jesus all day, every freaking day. I don't do Jesus, okay, what? I don't spend time with Jesus all day, every day, but I'm saying that lean into him. Like you are not going to be able to do it without him. It's not like I'm only 5 months married, but man, I could talk forever about what Jesus has done that I wouldn't have been able to do by myself. And like, you're just gonna need Jesus. That's all I'm gonna say. Third question was things you noticed. So third thing, things you noticed about yourself and husband that you didn't before. I'll do one. I'll make this a little spicy. I'll do one like critical thing of each and then one like good thing I didn't know before. Because I could probably do this forever too. Because I mean, you're just together every day. So you naturally learn things you didn't know before. I think a critical thing about myself, I learned that I am not so good at taking criticism or taking, not just criticism, but like even just like, hey, I would really like it if you could do this for me. I'd be like, defensive. No one can tell me anything. I'm just right. So I had a little bit of a realization. I already kind of knew that, but like I said, things get magnified when you're married. So I learned that I am not super good at taking criticism, and that's kind of a big deal when you're married, because you're gonna have to learn to hear that you are not perfect and that you don't do everything right and that you need to change things up or you need to do something differently. So for me, that was one. Good thing I learned about myself, and a good thing about me that I kind of knew, but like this has helped. Like I've realized this more since I've gotten married, that when like super stressful situations happen, I'm pretty good at being calm. My mom is the one I owe for being good at this, because my mom did this to me. Funny story real quick. So example, in 9th grade, I kissed a boy. That's all that happened with him in this particular scenario that made me scared. I kissed him and I told my mom, and she's like, okay, are you all right?
And I'm like, I kissed the boy. And she was like, okay, like, did you have sex? And I said, no.
I don't think so. And I was like, I kissed him. That's all we did. And she goes, okay, well, you're not pregnant. And I was like, okay. And I just remember, like, if your daughter's coming to you about that, I feel like that could be a really natural moment to kind of freak out and panic. But my mom was very like, okay, like, let's talk about this. And it turned out that I was just a naive child and thought that kissing a boy could somehow get me pregnant. But overall moral of the story, I felt like my mom was gonna freak out. She was super calm and super great and like helpful, and obviously told me that you can't get pregnant from just kissing a boy. So that was my knowledge in 9th grade. I went to a private Christian school. I just didn't know very much about the whole physical realm of things. Anyways, so from there, Isaiah, I would say one critical thing about Isaiah is that it was hard to think about this, because Isaiah is literally the best husband. Like truly, sometimes I'm like, how did I find you? oh, he zones out sometimes. So he's like super ADD and he gets lost in like this world in his head sometimes. And he will like zone out and I'll be talking for like 10 minutes and he will literally look, this boy will have the nerve to look at me and say, what'd you just say? And I'm like, which part? And he goes, I didn't hear any of it. And I'm like, I've been talking for 10 minutes. What do you mean you didn't hear any of it? Like, so I'll have to repeat myself and I don't like repeating myself. So that's one thing, but I love you, Isaiah, and you're super cute. Sorry. And then, oh my gosh, he's also the good thing I learned about him. I already kind of knew this, but in a marriage setting, this is like a whole different way that I've learned this about him, that he is literally the sweetest human ever. Like, he's such a servant leader to me. Like, you think as a wife, like, you're the one that's gonna be doing like the dishes, and like, I do dishes still, but like, you think you're gonna be the one like running the kitchen or like doing all the house stuff, and he literally is like, he's the one who makes dinner. Like, he makes dinner. He is like so quick to help out around the house and like clean, and like he's the one who wants to clean. He initiates a lot of the cleaning. And I've like along with the whole servant leader thing, he literally I have not pumped gas one time like since we have been like together. Like, as a girl, sometimes, I don't know, getting gas like a little scary, and like, or like at night, like, he never puts me in a situation where I have to get gas. There's just so many little things that he's so sweet and like just such a leader, and like, oh, I love him. Okay, I'm obsessed. That I'm getting off the question. This isn't really a question, but this is like a little like concept, like being with one person every single day. My lips are getting a little chapped here in this cold weather. Being with one person every day. So I've only been married for 5 months again. So honestly, we love being together. I don't know if that's just like, I'm sure like over time we'll change, and like we'll probably want more space, or we won't spend as much time together as we do being newlyweds. But I would say that one of our like top love languages is quality time. So we love being together. We love our schedule, especially like working 40 hours a week, like both of us. It gives us time to where like we spend time doing other things. So being together when we actually like really cherish our time together. And you know, if you marry someone you kind of like, you know, you kind of like being with them. They're kind of cute sometimes. So yeah. And then let me see if I wrote anything else with that one, because I feel like I answered that one not very seriously. So yeah, having friends is important. Obviously for me, moving to Boston and not having like many like super close friends right off the bat was hard, because, you know, I probably took up most of his time where he probably could have spent more time with friends. But, you know, naturally I needed him. I needed him to be with me too, because I didn't have anyone really besides him. So for me, in the beginning, we spent a lot more time like together, especially when I didn't have a job, like in the very beginning. So friends are helpful, because like I'll hang out with friends, he'll hang out with friends or whatever, and we'll just get, he doesn't hang out with friends a lot because he works a lot. So, you know, we're still learning, we're still figuring out a balance and how to like do that. But overall, you know, making sure you also respect each other's space is a big thing, because I think we've learned recently, so I like really like the Enneagram. He is a little like, okay, why are we like so obsessed with the Enneagram? Like, I am also like an individual, and like no one can like tell me exactly what I am in a number. But it's definitely been helpful to know our Enneagram numbers, because we've had put into words the time that we need alone is like justified. It's not like we just don't want to be together. But like his type, he's a 9 and I'm a 4. And so both of those numbers are highly creative people. And so naturally, as those numbers like functioning together, especially in a marriage, respecting each other's space and like creativity is very important and highly valued for both of our numbers. So it's important that we give each other space because we both need time to create and like be who we are and express ourselves in different ways. Of course, we can do that together, and we do, but it's really important to value our alone time. So I would say living with someone, take the Enneagram, take your love language, like kind of know that, like learn to know them really well to know how you can function better together every day. That might help. And then I would say for the fifth one is, how do you handle arguments as a dating couple versus a married couple? Good question. So the first part of this is like, how did we handle it when we were a dating couple? So we did do long distance. It definitely made arguing kind of weird because, you know, your only form of communication is a text, a call, or a FaceTime. So ultimately our arguing looked like, when we were dating, we were learning how to argue for a little while because, you know, we'd only ever been friends since we were 16. So like dating was a whole different world for us, like arguing wise, because we didn't really argue a ton in high school. So because we were friends, but, and we didn't argue a ton. But I think arguing when we were dating kind of was a little bit more of a, how do I explain this? It was different because we got to, you know, something would bother us, we would have a disagreement, or we would have something come up that was like worth having a disagreement or a conversation about that would lead to like maybe an argument. And then when we were done and we're like, okay, yeah, we're good, fine, like, sorry, blah, 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 like, you know, it's fine. Then we would, you know, like, eventually like hang up the phone, and then we could go, like, he was in Massachusetts and I was in Florida. So like naturally we were not together right after the argument. So it was almost like we had time to kind of like process, or like, I don't know, like to be by ourselves. So like it made arguing a little easier in a way, just because we got time by ourselves. So it was different. It was like, definitely we had arguments and it would like suck sometimes because we would just want to like hold each other. Now if we argue, we get to have makeup sex. So okay, anyways, so that's the nice part about being married. But anyways, going back to the dating argumentation type of thing, we had to just kind of like be okay with being away from each other and being like, okay, we don't get to like be together and we really want to work through this. So we'd work through it. It would kind of push us to work through it. I think a little more so because we knew we wouldn't get to be together. So we had to like hit it head on and figure it out. But then we kind of got our space. So I think it gave us a little bit more like, okay, like I have a little time to like get over this. But like when you're married and you argue, in my opinion, it's super kind of uncomfortable because you're in the same space. Like it's so like, it's kind of suffocating in a way to like let an argument linger without like talking about it, because you kind of need to, like, you're in the same space. I didn't just get to like hang up the phone and be like, okay, I'm gonna call you back in 45 minutes, or like I'm gonna call you back in 2 hours. Like, I know technically you could like, we could just say like, okay, we're gonna like, I'm gonna go to the living room and like you can stay in our room. But like, it's hard because you want to figure it out. You're there. So it's uncomfortable to not figure it out. So I would say that was like a little bit of like a learning curve, was like having like disagreements or like arguments and like being in the same space can be kind of like, ooh, it's like you're kind of forced to deal with it. Like you got to deal with it, or you're gonna like be bitter and like be like weird, like two little islands, and like be separate, like feel separated, and it's like weird. But we've definitely learned how to like respect each other and like have good like civil, we don't yell, we never raise our voices at each other. We've never done that. We don't ever talk like that to each other. So, you know, it was like, I would say like the biggest difference was we got kind of more space to figure out our argument when we were dating. And here it's like, it's more like you're right there. You're right in each other's faces. Like you got to figure it out. And like, we're also like learning we're building like a legacy here. So we're learning how we want to argue, how we want to do things, to set up like our future. And like when we have kids, like we want to make sure we're like putting these good things in place so that when we have kids, we know how to argue healthy, how to argue healthy, I guess. And then like, you know, kind of have that chain reaction for our kids to know how to like healthily have a conversation and to argue properly. Getting married young and overcoming financial burdens. So it's not really a question, but it's just like a topic. So getting married young. I guess I did get married young because I was 22 when I got married. So getting married young was awesome. I mean, you get married when you feel it's right for you. If you get married when you're 50, cool. As long as that's right for you, then do it. If you're 19 and that works for you and your family's in line with that, and cool, do it. It just worked for us. Like we knew, like I honestly, like after I like had kind of gone through a hard breakup, I was like, I'm probably not gonna get married till I'm 35, so whatever. Just cause I was like, I'm just gonna do me and like figure out my life. But when Isaiah came along, it was right, and we knew right away, and it just worked. And we knew, like, we had plenty of confirmation that Jesus was like all in it, and like that we were on the same page. And so we did it. We got married young, and it's awesome. We love it, and it is super fun. It's like, I don't know, it's great. And then overcoming financial burdens, I would say that this question I kind of like asked Isaiah a little bit earlier, because I was like, I don't know how to answer this, but he made a really good point, and it was about it depends on your expectation going into marriage. So Isaiah and I, for example, our expectation was that we were going to be like dirt cheap, and that we were never going to be able to do anything. Like we literally thought we were going to be like so like poor. Like we're like, we're going to be so frugal. We're like not going to do anything. We're never going to go out to eat. We're not like, we're probably going to have no money. I don't know why. We just like kind of thought, like, it's not that we didn't think God was going to like bless us, or like that we were going to have fun. We thought we'd have a lot of fun, but we were just thinking like money wise, it was probably going to be rough. Like that was our expectation. So, naturally when we got married and we like, now the world is ours and like we're living our life, it's great. I mean, we don't, honestly, like it depends on what your definition of financial burden, or it also depends on what your definition of success is. And for us, success was just having a roof over our head and having a functioning car, and being healthy and having insurance and having food on the table. I mean, we didn't really have like a big expectation of like what we were gonna have, like I mean, like luxury wise, we weren't like, oh, we're gonna have like Gucci slides, and like we're gonna have a Tesla, and like we're gonna live in a mansion. Like we were just, some people think that way. So like if that's your definition of success, or thinking that you're gonna just have all your ish together right away, and then you go in and you're like, crap, it doesn't mean that you go in and not having that stuff isn't successful, but to you it might not be successful to just like have a normal, like just a, you know, it just depends on what your idea of success is. So for us, I felt like we were like pretty realistic. We kind of were just like, you know, we got together all the practical aspects of being married. Like we knew our budget for like our townhome that we wanted to live in. We knew our budget for like driving, like our car, our insurance, our gas. Like we just, before we got married, we got together like an extensive budget. Like we knew what we wanted to spend. And then when we got married, we also reevaluated our budget, and we also reevaluate our budget every single month. So every month we sit down on the first day of the month, like whatever our day off is, for like the first week of the month, and we make sure that we've like accounted for all of our finances, and that when that we're making more than what we're spending, that's super important. So and like also I'd say a big part is like when you're getting married, and like when you're talking to someone before you guys decide to get engaged, or like when you do get married, or like at whatever point makes sense for you, be completely upfront about your financial state. I mean, Isaiah and I were super direct with each other. We were like, hey, this is what I'm coming into our marriage with. This is what I have in the bank. This is what I am gonna need when we get married. This is what I'm gonna need. Like, we like came together and we figured out something for us. But you know, it's just full you know, full honesty about finances. Like, it's all right if you have debt. Like, I'm saying that because it's realistic. Some people don't get out of high school and just have the ability to pay for college tuition. So sometimes people go into debt. It is important that you pay that debt off and you have a plan. But dude, things happen. Like, be honest with the person you're gonna get married. Tell them everything. Tell them everything financially. Financially, people get a lot of divorces over finances. A lot of that could probably be avoided with full honesty. And just like going in with the right expectation and being honest and being smart and making more than what you're spending. If you're spending a lot more than what you're making every month, just reevaluate. We had to do that last month. We looked at our spending. We were like, wow, we spent a lot on boba. We should cut back on the amount of times we go get boba because it doesn't make sense for us. You do that. You got to adjust. You got to figure it out, but it's okay. Like, finances can be hard, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be hard. Just communicate. I'm saying that because I do it with Isaiah, and it's not that bad. If you talk about it and if you're real, you can do it. Like, you really can. If you can't and you don't have the background of maybe understanding how finances work or knowing how to be successful financially, there's YouTube, there's online courses, there's financial planners. Like, do what you got to do to get educated about it. Like, just figure it out. There's budget apps. I think Isaiah has the app on his phone. So I personally do not have, I think he uses Mint. And I use, Sheets, which is like Excel spreadsheets on your phone, and I put all of our stuff for our budget in that so we can easily access our budget. So you figure out what works for you. Like, you got this. And this is the biggest part. So tithing. I swear I was not a tither my whole life, basically. And when I met Isaiah in high school, he's always been a tither. He's always been someone who values giving and tithing as being a big part of his life. And I learned that from him at a young age. I never really did it until we started dating. But I learned, Isaiah told me something when we started dating that kind of changed my idea of tithing. So he told me that even at his worst parts of finances, even when he was struggling the most, he would always tithe, and sometimes even tithe more. Like, when it didn't make sense, even when he was like, I don't even have the money to do this, but I'm going to do it. He would tithe. And he always told me he never missed a bill. He never missed rent. He never missed a car payment. Like, he was always able to pay for what he needed to pay for. And he strongly believed it was because he was tithing, because it literally didn't make sense. It did not make sense how he could pay for things. But he would keep tithing, and so he believed that. So, I mean, I trusted him on that. He's my man. He is my husband. I trust his lead. So we looked at our budget last month and looked at like our spending versus what we were making and everything. And literally it did not make sense. Like, we looked at our budget and we were like, how do we even do everything we did and still afford like our bills and like everything? Like, it was freaking awesome. Like, we were like, wow, God, it didn't make any sense, dude. I'm telling you, literally did not make sense. Like, literally Jesus will provide. Like, stay disciplined to giving, not because you're giving to like just like the church or like an institution, but because it postures your heart in a way that you trust God. Like, you trust God with what is his. Like, the cool part about money, think about it, it's not even yours. God's given you the ability to work, given you the ability to make that money. Give him what's his. Like, give him that first. Give him your first fruits. Like, speaking of fruit, I'm freaking hungry. We've been like kind of living the dream financially here. And we don't make like this crazy amount of money, but it's just like we are faithful with what God gives us and provides for us, and we are okay. Like, we're good. We're living. We have a roof over our head. We got food. We have an abundance. Like, we have luxuries if you think about it. Like, really, we have luxury. And it's just position your heart the right way. Tithe and finances do not have to be a burden. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. It's been a lot of fun talking about marriage with you. If you have more in-depth comments or questions or anything like that, feel free to write them in the comments, or my Instagram handle is going to be down below. Instagram is the best place to get a hold of me. You'll also have my Snapchat and my Twitter. I really never go on Twitter, but Instagram's the way to go. Hit me up in the DMs, whatever it takes. You just comment, tell me what you want to watch, whatever it is, because I know marriage has just been like a very hot topic when it comes to what you guys want to watch. So if there's deeper videos or more concepts that you want to hear about or questions you have, just let me know. And I will be very happy to answer that. If I didn't answer them in this video, it's not because I don't want to tell you. Trust me, I want to tell you, but there's just so many things. Marriage is a loaded concept. So I love you guys, and whatever part of life that you're at, embrace it, pray. I'm married, but I don't have my life together. I mean, we're all humans, just trying to be human here on this earth, figuring life out, figuring it out. It can be tough, and you do you. Figure out yourself. No matter what stage of life you're in, figure out you, love people, love Jesus, pray, tithe. Peace.
So, grow just like a rose, made it through all of those thorns. Girl, into the woman I know. And it's killing me to say I'm fine, I'm fine.